Calabria, known in antiquity as Bruttium or formerly as Italia, is a region in southern Italy, forming the toe of the Italian peninsula. The capital city of Calabria is Catanzaro, while its most populated city and the seat of the Calabrian Regional Council is Reggio. It is bordered to the north by the region of Basilicata, to the west by the Tyrrhenian Sea, and to the east by the Ionian Sea. The region covers 15,080 square kilometers and has a population of just under 2 million. The demonym of Calabria in English is Calabrian. In ancient times the name Calabria was used to refer to the southern part of Apulia, the peninsula of Salenta. Geography. The region is a long and narrow peninsula which stretches from north to south for 248 kilometers, with a maximum width of 110 kilometers. Some 42% of Calabria's area, corresponding to 15,080 square kilometers, is mountainous, 49% is hilly, while plains occupy only 9% of the region's territory. It is surrounded by the Ionian and Tyrrhenian seas. It is separated from Sicily by the Strait of Messina, where the narrowest point between Capo Pelore in Sicily and Punta Pezzo in Calabria is only 3.2 kilometers. Three mountain ranges are present: Pollino, La Sila and Aspromonte. All three mountain ranges are unique with their own flora and fauna. The Pollino Mountains in the north of the region are rugged and form a natural barrier separating Calabria from the rest of Italy. Parts of the area are heavily wooded, while others are vast, wind-swept plateaus with little vegetation. These mountains are home to a rare Bosnian pine variety, and are included in the Pollino National Park. La Sila is a vast mountainous plateau, about 1,200 meters above sea level, which stretches for nearly 2,000 square kilometers along the central part of Calabria. The highest point is Bottodinato, which reaches 1,928 meters. The area boasts numerous lakes and dense coniferous forests. The Aspromonte Massif forms the southernmost tip of the Italian peninsula, bordered by the sea on three sides. This unique mountainous structure reaches its highest point of Montalto, at 1,995 meters, and is full of wide, man-made terraces that slope down towards the sea. In general, most of the lower terrain in Calabria has been agricultural for centuries, and exhibits indigenous scrubland as well as introduced plants such as the prickly pear cactus. The lowest slopes are rich in vineyards and citrus fruit orchards. The Diamante citron is one of the citrus fruits. Moving upwards, olives and chestnut trees appear, while in the higher regions there are often dense forests of oak, pine, beech and fir trees. Climate. Along the coastlines, the climate is Mediterranean with average low temperatures of 8 degrees Celsius in the winter months and average high temperatures of 30 degrees Celsius in the summer months. Along the Apennines and in the inland areas, the climate is mountainous with cold, snowy winters and warm, dry summers with occasional thunderstorms. Geology. When describing the geology of Calabria, it is commonly considered as part of the Calabrian Arc, an arc-shaped geographic domain extending from the southern part of the Basilicata region to the northeast of Sicily, and including the Peloritano Mountains. The Calabrian area shows basement of Paleozoic and Younger Ages, covered by neogenic sediments. Studies have revealed that these rocks comprise the upper unit of a pile of thrust sheets which dominate the Apennines and the Sicilian Mugribides. The neogenic evolution of the central Mediterranean system is dominated by the migration of the Calabrian Arc to the southeast, overriding the African plate and its promontories. The main tectonic elements of the Calabrian Arc are the southern Apennines Fold and Thrust Belt, the Calabria Peloritani, or simply Calabrian Block, and the Sicilian Mugribides Fold and Thrust Belt. The foreland area is formed by the Apulia Platform, which is part of the Adriatic Plate, and the Ragusa or Iberian Platform, which is an extension of the African Plate. These platforms are separated by the Ionian Basin. The Tyrrhenian Oceanized Basin is regarded as the back arc basin. This subduction system therefore shows the southern plates of African affinity subducting below the northern plates of European affinity. The geology of Calabria has been studied for more than a century. For details concerning the older literature, i.e., from before 1973, the reader is referred to the Review of Ogniban. Ippolito presented a complete bibliography of the literature on the Calabrian geology as published up until that moment. Books, reviews and important milestones concerning the geology of the Calabrian Arc are the following: Cortese, Limanovsky, Quitzo, Kerr al. Kerr, Grant Jacquet al. Ogniban, Kerr, Burton, Amodio Morelli al. Dubois, Grant Jacquet and Maskell, Musat, Van Dijk, and Van Dijk al. The earlier works were mainly dedicated to the evolution of the basement rocks of the area. The neogenic sedimentary successions were merely regarded as post-orogenic infill of neotectonic tensional features. In the course of time, however, a shift can be observed in the temporal significance of these terms, from post-Eocene to post-early Miocene to post-middle Pleistocene. The area is seismically and volcanically highly active. This is generally ascribed to the re-establishment of an equilibrium after the latest deformation phase. Some authors believe that the subduction process is still ongoing, which is a matter of debate. History. Calabria is one of the oldest regions of Italy, with the first villages in the region springing up around 3500 BC. At about 1500 BC, Italic Oscan-speaking tribes settled in the region. Two of these tribes were the Oenotrians in the Itali. Greek contact with the latter would result in Calabria taking the name of the tribe and was the first region to be called Italy. Greeks settled heavily along the coast during the 8th and 7th centuries BC, and several of their settlements, including the first Italian city called Rhegion and the next one Sybaris, Croton, a settlement which spawned many ancient Olympic victors in where the mathematician Pythagoras later resided, and Locra, which were among the leading cities of Magna Graecia during the 6th and 5th centuries BC. The Greeks would create intellectual property in Sybaris and also turn the city of Croton into a center of philosophy, science and medicine with the help of Pythagoras and Alcmaeon. Sybaris would also benefit from vinodicts, which were a series of pipes that would carry wine to the homes of its citizens. Locra would be renowned for being the town where Zaleucus would create the first Western Greek law, which was called the Locrian Code. The Greeks were conquered by the 3rd century BC by roving Oscan tribes from the north, including a branch of the Samnites called the Lucanians and an offshoot of the Lucanians called the Bratii. The Bratii conquered the Greek cities, established their sovereignty over present-day Calabria, and founded new cities, including their own capital, Cosenza. The Romans conquered the area in the 3rd century BC after the fierce Bratian resistance. Possibly the fiercest resistance the Romans had to face from another Italic people. At the beginning of the Roman Empire, the region would form the Augustan Regia III Lucania a Bratii of Roman Italy. After Alaric I sacked Rome in the year 410, he contracted malaria and died in Cosenza. Legend has it that he, along with the treasure of Rome, were buried under the bed of the Bucinta River. During the 6th century, a new group of Greeks had arrived in Calabria called the Byzantines. The Byzantines thrived in Calabria, and towns such as Stylo and Rossano achieved great wealth and status. Today these two towns still retain much of their Byzantine heritage. Their best examples of Byzantine architecture are their churches, with Stylo's La Cattolica and Rossano's San Marco of Angelista. The Byzantines are credited with giving Calabria her name from the term Carlos Bruo, meaning fertile earth. Around the year 800, Saracens began invading the shores of Calabria, attempting to wrest control of the area from the Byzantines. This group of Arabs had already been successful in Sicily and knew that Calabria was another key spot. The people of Calabria retreated into the mountains for safety. Although the Arabs never really got a stronghold on the whole of Calabria, they did control some villages while enhancing trade relations with the Eastern world. In 918, Saracens captured Reggio and sold the majority of its population in the slave markets of Sicily and North Africa. It is during this time of Arab invasions that many staples of today's Calabrian cuisine came into fashion. Citrus fruits and eggplants, for example. Exotic spices such as cloves and nutmeg were also introduced. In the 1060s, the Normans, under the leadership of Robert Guiscard's brother Roger, established a presence in this borderland, and organized a government along Byzantine lines that was run by the local Greek magnates of Calabria. In 1098, Roger named the equivalent of an apostolic legate by Pope Urban II, and later formed what became the Kingdom of Sicily. The administrative divisions created in the late medieval times were maintained right through to unification. Calabria Citeria in the northern half, in Calabria Ulteria in the southern half. By the end of the Middle Ages, large parts of Calabria continued to speak Greek as their mother tongue. During the 13th century, a French chronicler who traveled through Calabria stated that the peasants of Calabria spoke nothing but Greek. By the 15th and 16th centuries, the Greek spoken in Calabria was rapidly replaced by Latin, the dominant language of the Italian peninsula, through a process of Italianization. Today, the last remnants of the Greek formerly spoken widely throughout Calabria can still be heard amongst the ethnically Greek Greco people of the Aspromonte Mountains of southern Calabria, beginning with the subsequent Angevin rule, which ruled Calabria as part of the Kingdom of Naples. Calabria was ruled from Naples right up until unification with Italy. The kingdom came under many rulers. The Habsburg dynasties of both Spain and Austria, the Franco-Spanish Bourbon dynasty which created the Kingdom of Two Sicilies, Napoleon's brother Joseph Bonaparte, and then French Marshal Joachim Murat, who was executed in the small town of Pizzo. Calabria experienced a series of peasant revolts as part of the European revolutions of 1848. This set the stage for the eventual unification with the rest of Italy in 1861, when the Kingdom of Naples was brought into the Union by Giuseppe Garibaldi. The Aspromonte was the scene of a famous battle of the unification of Italy, in which Garibaldi was wounded. Economy. Calabria is one of the least developed regions in Italy, although the high degree of tax evasion makes it difficult to verify these statistics. The gross domestic product of Calabria is subdivided as follows: service industry, financial activities and real estate, trade, tourism, transportation and communication, taxation, manufacturing, construction and agriculture. Its economy is hampered by the fact that it is beset by corruption and organized crime, which is mainly run by the 'Ndrangheta. Manufacturing, food and textile industries are the most developed and vibrant. Within the industrial sector, manufacturing contributes to a gross value added of 7.2%. In the manufacturing sector, the main branches are foodstuff, beverage and tobacco, with a contribution to the sector very close to the national average. Over the recent decades have emerged some petrochemical, engineering and chemical industries within the areas of Crotone, Vibo Valentia and Reggio Calabria. Tourism. The 485 miles of its coast make Calabria a popular tourist destination during the summer. The low industrial development and the lack of large cities in much of its territory have allowed the maintenance of low levels of marine pollution. In fact, the region is considered by many a natural paradise, which attracts a number of tourists from all over Italy. Foreign tourism is still low compared to similar places, but it is growing each year. The most popular seaside destinations are Tropea, Capo Vaticano, Pizzo, Silla Diamanti, Amante and Sovreto. In addition to the most popular coastal tourist destinations, the interior of Calabria is rich in history, traditions, art and culture that attract a discrete number of tourists. Cosenza is among the most important cultural cities of Calabria, with a rich historical and artistic patrimony. Fortresses, castles, churches, historic centers and cemeteries are common elements in the interior of Calabria. Some mountain locations attract tourists even in winter. Sila and Aspromonte are two national parks that offer facilities for winter sports, especially in the towns of Camagliatello, Larica and Gambari. Agriculture. A typical feature is agricultural richness in Calabria. The region boasts the second highest number of organic farmers only after Sicily. The olive tree, representing 29.6% of UAE and represents approximately 70% of tree crops. The region is the second highest for olive oil production. The bergamot orange is intensively cultivated, since the 18th century, exclusively in coastal area nearby to Reggio, where it found its optimal geological and weather conditions. Essence oil from Calabrian bergamot reached the best quality in the world. Infrastructure and transport. The main Calabrian ports are in Reggio and in Gioia Tauro. The Reggio port is equipped with 5 loading docks of a length of 1,530 meters. The Gioia Tauro port has 7 loading docks with an extension of 4,646 meters. It is the largest in Italy and the 7th largest container port in Europe. With a 2007 throughput of 3.7 million TEUs from more than 3,000 ships, the region is served by 3 heavily used roads, 2 national highways along the coasts and the A3 motorway, which links Naples and Reggio, passing by Salerno and Cosenza along the old inland route. In Calabria there are 3 main airports. One is situated in Reggio, a few kilometers from city center. Built in 1939, is chronologically the first airport in Calabria. Another is located in La Mezzia Terme municipality area, currently being the first airport in Calabria concerning the number of passengers per year, the other near the town of Crotone. Demographics. The following is a list of Calabrian municipalities with a population of over 20,000. Reggio Calabria 186,013 inhabitants. Catanzaro 93,265. La Mezzia Terme 71,123. Cosenza 69,827. Crotone 61,529. Corigliano Calabro 40,533. Rossano 38,280. Renda 35,352. Viba Valentia 33,857. Castro Villari 22,518. Acri 21,263. Montalto Ufugo 20,553. Government and politics. Sister cities and countries: Burwood, Australia. State of West Virginia, United States.